we are going to talk about respiratory system as last lecture. Respiratory systems, gas exchange surfaces, water environments. البيئة المائية, they use gills. Land environments, they use lungs as respiratory systems. A human respiratory system include inspiration versus expiration, الشهيق والزفير, respiration and health, علاقة التنفس بالصحة, respiratory disorders اللي هي المشاكل بالنسبة للجهاز التنفسي. Gas exchange surfaces, respiration, the events associated with gas exchange between the cells and external environment. In terrestrial vertebrates, الفقريات الأرضية consist of ventilation, inspiration and expiration. External respiration, gas exchange between blood and external air in lungs. Internal respiration, gas exchange between blood and tissue. By diffusion, for diffusion to be effective, gas exchange regions must be moist and relatively large. Effectiveness of diffusion is enhanced by vascularization, بواسطة الأوعية الدموية. Delivery to cells is promoted by respiratory pigments like hemoglobin. Water environments, gases of air can dissolve in water. However, when saturated, water contains a small fraction of the oxygen in the same volume of air. Water is much more viscous than air. Aquatic animals expend more energy to breathe than do terrestrial animals. Planaria and Hydra. Hydras and Planarias, large surface area in comparison to the body size. Most of their cells exchange gases directly with the environment بتم تبادل الغازات من خلال السطح الخارجي وتعرضه للبيئة الخارجية. Animal shapes and gas exchange. Large aquatic animals often have gills, finally divide vascularized outgrowth of inner or outer body surface. Gills of bony fishes, aquatic vertebrates, outward extension of pharynx. Ventilation is brought about by combined action of the mouth and gill covers by a baculum. تكون الخياشيم مغطاة بغطاء الخياشيم. Counter current exchange, the blood flow in capillaries in opposite direction to the flow of water across the gills. As you see in the picture, these are the gills and the capillaries inside the gills where the gas exchange occur. Land environment, they use trachea like locusts. الجراد بيستخدم trachea. Insects and other terrestrial arthropod respiratory system consists of trachea. So the insects and terrestrial arthropod they use trachea as respiratory system. Oxygen enters trachea at the spiracles. Trachea branch until end in the tracheoles that are in direct contact with body cells. Ventilation by contraction and relaxation of air sacs. Land environment, lungs of vertebrates. Terrestrial vertebrates have evolved lungs, vascular outgrowth from the lower pharyngeal region. Lungs of amphibians possess a short trachea which is divided into two bronchi that open into lungs. Many also breathe to some extent through the skin. Land environment, lungs of vertebrates. Reptiles. Inner lining of lungs is more finely defined in reptiles than in amphibians. Lungs of birds and mammals are elaborately subdivided. All terrestrial vertebrates except birds use tidal ventilation system. That's to say, air moves in and out by the same route. The lungs do not empty completely. The fresh air mixes with used air in lungs. Ventilation in terrestrial vertebrates. Inspiration or inhalation in mammals. create a negative pressure in lungs. So inspiration, it creates a negative pressure in lungs. The rib cage is elevated, the diaphragm lowers, thoracic pressure decreases to less than atmospheric pressure. Atmospheric pressure forces air into the lungs. Expiration or exhalation in mammals create positive pressure in lungs. So expiration creates positive pressure in lungs. The rib cage is lowered. The diaphragm rises opposite to the inspiration. الشهيق بيختلف عن اللي هو الزفير. Inspiration في الشهيق positive pressure created in lungs, the rib cage is lowered, the diaphragm rises, thoracic pressures increase to more than atmospheric pressure forces air out the lungs. Respiratory system in birds use one-way ventilation mechanism. Fresh air does not mix with used air. Oxygen uptake with each breath is greater than in other vertebrates. The human respiratory tracts.